How was it working with Avicii at the time?
It was pretty awesome.
I didn't think I was going to even come to this, but as you quite rightly said, you worked really closely and well with him. Is there anything in hindsight?
KILLA podcast. KILLAofficial.com.
KELA Podcast Live Show. Step into the live and dangerous world of music and street culture's #1 magazine platform, the KELA Podcast Live Show. Special guests alongside performances, news, reviews, profile pieces to a live studio audience. Your monthly live stream is here. Hit Facebook page KELA Official.
Beatbox created.
KILLA.
And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
KILLA podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, live and direct, Central West Hollywood, if there's such a thing, or as central as you need to be anywhere. This is the KILLA podcast. This is the KILLA podcast live show. And sitting to my right, your left, is a good friend of mine, known for a very long time, and it's a pleasure to have him inside the ride, Mr. Aloe Blacc.
What's up?
How are you, my G?
Chilling.
Yeah. On and off planes mostly at the moment for you, sir, huh?
That's life. Always been for a long time, just with this music thing, is traveling.
It's designed to... It's a test of tolerance, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, definitely a test of endurance, really.
Yeah,
like how quickly can you acclimate to the new time zone?
Yeah, totally. I was thinking about this the other day when you consider people like your Simon Cowells of the world and how they operate, almost like function straight into a situation after, the levels in which they have to work. It must be super intense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I feel like I just want to lay in bed and not do anything. And sometimes I do that.
Yeah. I see. I don't get enough of that, me. I just don't get enough of that. I just wake up with an immediate alarm clock of hell. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
My alarm clock is my kids, so I've got to wake up anyway. I mean, I try to stay in bed as long as I can, but,
Family man now.
Yeah,
right?
family man, definitely. 2 kids, 6 and 4, and they keep me on my toes for sure.
Yeah. Is it what you expected? Is your life goes?
I think I never expected any of it, right? Doing music, especially where we come from, in hip hop, and I'd say like in the indie side of hip hop, you don't think, oh, one day I'm going to be an international pop star. You just think, I'm going to make music for the heads. They're gonna love it, and if they don't, middle finger to them. I'm still doing me, right?
Yeah, that's the one, bro.
But life took a turn, and I was able to grab onto this train that was moving full speed in a direction, and I was able to just like ride that train. I'm still sort of on it, but I feel like I'm good. Like I don't want to push too hard.
Yeah.
Just because with kids, I want to be there for them.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Like you say, and this is where we really come together, because back in 2003, 2004, we hosted a couple of stages. We bucked on a couple of events, acquaintances-wise, and things were. It was a transitional backpacker era, wasn't it? And this international thing, like Winter Music Conference, came about, and we were hosting that as well. And just to see this climb, this rise of Aloe Blacc, for me as a fan as well as a friend, I'm just like, yo, this is fucking crazy. Like, you migrated into such a high plateau.
I mean,
bro.
Okay, so anybody who knows, the Stones Throw legacy knows that it's highly potent hip hop.
Yeah.
But not pop commercial hip hop. It's really, really authentic, genuine, hip hop. And I got into that circle because of my hip hop background, but I didn't present myself as a hip hop artist. When I got signed, I became a vocalist, a singer, neo soul, future soul, and all kinds of experimentation.
That's right.
But because of that experience and because of the guidance that was there with Egon at the time, I was able to parlay all that I understood about hip hop stage presence, songwriting, into soul music and practicing my vocals. And it really did. It transformed everything. It shifted in a major way. So
Yeah. What's the likelihood of an act going into? I mean, with American rap, it's a lot different compared to the domestic tongue of London. There's a more international appeal, but with your vocals being so much more leaning towards an area of sound, a nostalgic sound, that must have played a massive part in it being a conduit for your success.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Amy Winehouse at the
Yeah.
time had worked with Mark Ronson and made the Back to Black album.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Amy Winehouse.
Hell yeah.
But also Salam Remy. So the two of them
Oh my God, yeah.
being hip hop heads
Yeah.
were able to mix together soul and kind of this nostalgic feel of doo-wop with with a hip hop sensibility.
Yeah.
And her lyricism and her voice. I was able to then come in on the coattails of that because she had reintroduced this
idea of
this old sound.
Yeah.
And so I Need a Dollar became a hit, and that basically communicated to the world that I was a singer. So for everybody that knew me as an MC, they had to readjust, and everybody who was learning me didn't have to know anything about my MCing.
But there is an integrity to the vocal, and I think that's what I mean. That, and also your choice of sound palette that you, like you say, had that lean towards the doo-wop, the Amy Winehouse kind of vibe, and she left a massive hole as well. When she passed, there was a massive hole that was to be filled.
Yeah.
Your integrity in your vocal, I think that it allowed for people that were into your MCing to kind of fuck with it.
I think so, yeah, and the lyrics too. Like I wrote all the lyrics, I sang the songs, so it wasn't a packaged, planted kind of pop attempt. It was just like real, genuine experimentation, but genuine music nonetheless.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I remember very well first hearing it. And I think that derives from knowing you anyway. But to hear such a change of events, what was it like when that? Because that was a real had a cult attachment to it. Suddenly it had legs and it was moving you rapidly. And then obviously as the collaborations that you started getting involved with, the albums, the Avicii, all these just played and bang bang bang. How quick was that? Was it as quick as it felt from us looking from the outside?
It feels like it was all yesterday, but it's a 10-year, maybe a 15-year trajectory. My Shine Through album was 2006 or so.
Which it feels like yesterday. That's
and
crazy.
That's that led to the Good Things album, which was 2009 and 10.
Yeah.
And then the major label stuff was 2013, 14. And so it's been a few years since then, but I also had kids since then. So you can see the difference between my contemporaries who had success around the same time with hits and families, and then if they continue to be in the spotlight, their relationships are probably ruined right now.
Right.
And or they went through some tribulations.
It's actually some very real talk there, ladies and gentlemen.
Whereas my wife Maya was like, look, if you're not here, then how are we really married? How is this a relationship? Yeah. And I understood that. I took that to heart. So I was like, all right, let me see what I can do to be here as much as possible, but still have the career and still have fun with what I do. So
I've got a question for you. It's spicy, spice alert. But how much of that do you feel like? Is there any hindsight where you're like, if only I had a little bit more time to do my work, what would it be like? Is there a lot of hindsight?
I mean,
you're an artist. There must be.
There's parts of me that are like, I wish. Parts of me that I wish I could have had more time to escalate and get to the stratosphere, but at the same time, I'm so happy. Like right now, I can easily walk down the street anywhere, any city, with my family and my kids, and just be a normal person, and not have to worry about paparazzi or a bunch of fans. Like maybe one fan in a day would want to take a photo or might recognize me. That's just enough to keep my ego happy, and just enough to make me feel like I'm still somebody, but not enough for me to be like, get away from my kids.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely. I
Now,
feel.
I've been fortunate enough to like, have that kind of liberty. I think about some of the really, really big major cats that everybody knows, and they're always tripping on people, talking about their kids in social media or like, or when they're out in public, like being hounded. I'm like, there's no amount of money in the world that can pay for what I have right now.
Freedom. For
You
real.
could be, and I know some billionaires who are like faceless, like they're the kind of, they made money on technology.
Yeah.
That's the kind of money I want to make. Like,
Yeah.
You don't need to know how I made my money. You don't even need to know that I have money. But if I want to, to experience something crazy, I could do it and not have to worry about everybody following me while I'm doing it.
Yeah, I feel that. Do you think? I was going to go to somewhere else actually, as you were saying this, but I feel like if you experience wealth, there's a level of confidence that just drives you in a very different way. It doesn't feel like, because we've both had success. Yours is super crazy, but so I'm only speaking like in a smaller scale to this, but to know that you have accomplished something, to know that you had got paid for it, to know that you had figured the puzzle out and came out the other end knowing how it works, there is a level of confidence that you could walk away pretty satisfied and knowing that I don't need that spotlight all the time.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, I wish that I could build, a system that other people can use to follow what I did. But this was all accidental and by chance. I didn't expect any of it to happen. You can't really game it. But I might have one more moment where like I try to get my status up again so I can then pivot and flip it into something else, fashion, tech, film. Who knows? But I would love to just be home with my kids, write songs and distribute the music and not have to be out on the road to sell it.
Because of course it's a different time, and there's so many other avenues and outlets and ways of, when is it too much? When is your delegation of you doing your work, it goes over like the creative threshold. All of a sudden you're having to like be your own social media, be your own. I mean, this is a lot of things. Takes away from the writing.
Social
right?
media is crazy. Like I don't even understand. Trying to think back to how we did it, where it was just hand to hand. Like, how did I make it around the world without social media? I did. But
I know, it's crazy to think how logically it seems like the only piece of the puzzle that's missing for a lot of these people that are on social media. It's the bit that happened to us back then, and it doesn't exist no more.
It doesn't. It's weird. I mean, mystery used to be the driving force, and now I'm not sure what the driving force is. Maybe it's excess.
Yeah, excess.
Like I have no idea.
Mystery was a real key factor.
Oh hell yeah! Like you didn't need to know too much. Just this is the story I'm telling you. You need to believe that.
Yeah.
Come to the show in that world. But I think
God, that's so true.
at this point, like the only thing I can live in is my truth, because that's what everybody's going to see anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas Marilyn Manson didn't have to have a truth. It was just that character. You know what I'm saying?
And I loved that.
That's awesome.
That theatre.
Because that's what you're buying. That's what you're buying into.
$1, right? So that tune.
So with
that was
good
there was a
things.
thing.
That was a character.
That was a character.
That was definitely a character. That was a 1970s soul gut bucket kind of hero of the underdog.
Yes.
And people came to the show expecting that. I remember one of my reviews was a critic that was super pissed off that when I did my show, I was a little bit too energetic. I had too much soul and too much funk. He was looking for like the more blues soul. And
he was looking for a porch, basically.
He was he really was just he he wasn't feeling the way I ended up presenting, but I understood because I've created an entire character that was almost opposite to what I ended up presenting on stage, but I grew up in hip hop.
Yeah.
I can't just go and just sing some songs and not rock a stage. I had
know
to
what
rock
I'm
a
saying?
stage.
Yeah.
So
It's what's on your DNA,
and I
it's
didn't.
it.
Yeah, and I never learned how to separate rocking a stage from what I presented on my record. So I don't know. I'm sorry, but if you didn't have fun, then you should go see someone else.
All right. There was saying, I'm paraphrasing, a friend of mine said it's like, don't lead your audience into creating their own conclusions about a thing. And I think that's what you're getting at, because when you create a character, you create an environment, people are able to own it a lot more, because that's they fuck with that's their thing. And then as soon as you start, in fact, if you get really successful with it, all of a sudden they own you, and you can't move any direction. That becomes.
It's starting to show, though. With the young kids, they're a little bit more open. They see Billie Eilish do crazy things in her videos, but then they see her just being a normal person outside of the video, which I think is really good.
I
Marilyn
agree.
Manson didn't do that. He never broke the fourth wall.
No.
He was always in character, right?
Fourth wall.
Right? Always in character. So I think it's cool now that we can show, it is a character.
Yeah.
And we can break it because we're also human, and still have a following, and they don't leave us and say, "Oh, you're fronting." They know it's an act. They're here for the act.
Yeah.
And they also want to know a little bit about the realness too.
I wonder when that started. When did that actually come about to the point?
I'm telling you, this is the social media stuff. Like, back in the day, when you were a star, you were always a star. You came out of your house looking like a star. You never dressed down. But I think the social media shows a little more than what we used to show in the past. So.
And I'm wondering whether someone like Amy Winehouse would tolerate that kind of overexposure. When she passed, she was almost like everything was time capsuled.
Yeah.
To the point where that was the show. So long. Farewell, folks. This is her in her creative entirety. No more.
It's hard to tell. I mean, you can see how still there are artists who struggle with the fame, and it's taking lives. So
which interesting segue or not, that Avicii was a great example, and you worked with him a fair few times on a bunch of live shows, man. Like, you fucking killed them live shows with him. When you guys were together, it was like boom. How was it working with Avicii at the time?
It was pretty awesome. Like, he was very, very laser focused, kind of passionate artist. Almost didn't really seem to mention or care about anything other than the music. You know what I mean? Like, in my conversations with him, I know he was a deep cat because I've seen interviews and other things with other friends. But for us, it was like telepathic music creation.
Oh my God, that's so sick.
But you get that when you're working with great artists who have a vision and have a personality.
Yeah.
And they know what they want to do, and if they're open enough to let you do what you do best, then you're only combining
greatness.
Yeah, greatness with greatness, and that's what I think worked so well with Avicii. He was certain about what didn't work, and he was very confident about what would work. So,
I love that. When you walk into a room and you just know that you're in safe hands.
Right, but and you also know when you're not in safe hands. You can tell it, and you can tell who doesn't belong in the room, and how did you get here, and why are you in this business?
Oh, something smells immediately.
Yeah,
totally.
You're wasting everybody's time.
Yeah.
Those kind of moments hurt for me because
someone's
some
hacking
of
the system.
Yeah, you hack the system. I don't know why you're here, and you're probably gonna stay here.
Yeah,
but it's not fair to everybody else because you really ain't that. You're really not that good for the business.
100%. I mean, I know the exact kind of characters you're talking about. I think it's down to a producer. In fact, it's not just a producer. It's about finding that weak, because you're only as strong as your weakest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've just got to flush them people out as soon as possible. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I think that's a producer's role as well. I mean, it's a management of creative space and
Guaranteed.
You know what I
Manage the
mean?
creative space.
Yeah.
That's the lesson.
Yeah.
If there's a lesson to be learned, manage your creative space. Keep anyone who's not 100% out of your creative space.
wow,
Like,
yeah,
if they're not a positive person, if they're not skilled, like there's time to be a mentor and teach other folks, but that doesn't have to be on your business time. That's on your teaching time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
it's unfortunate his passing. It massively, missed now. And in retrospect, is there anything? This is a really broad question. I probably wasn't even. I didn't think I was going to even come to this, but as you quite rightly said, you worked really closely and well with him. Is there anything in hindsight that you could have seen in the? Was there anything within him that you?
Not at the time.
No.
Not at the time of his passing.
No.
Nah, he was 100%. Everything seemed normal. There was a time where I was like, "Yo, I know you're going through something.
Yeah.
This is wild. I hope that you can, like, escape the clutches of whatever it is that's you're struggling with."
Yeah.
And he did. And so by then, everybody was like under the impression that everything was good.
Kosher, yeah.
So whatever happened was a complete mystery.
Yeah, and a shock, I would imagine, as well. I mean, a shock for everybody, right? With going into, like, and this is a more broader question outside of Avicii, I mean, going into these recording sessions, how do you like to work? How quick do you like? How rapid is it?
I do, I've gotten into a habit of 4-hour long sessions. So
Nice.
the session should last for 4 hours. I walk in with an idea. Hopefully everybody else who walks into the room has an idea. We can either compete with ideas. We can even start from complete scratch. I would only like to do that with folks that I completely trust, starting from scratch, that are, like, accomplished. Because otherwise you're spinning wheels.
Wasting time. And
you waste time. And
yeah.
honestly, like, I'm trying to get back to my family. Like, I like to work. I'm happy to work.
Right.
But I'm not trying to pull teeth.
That's right.
I just want to make something good. And in
Yeah.
4 hours, we should have something that we all really like.
Yeah.
At least a demo of it. And then we can come back in and fine tune it. But if we don't have it in that time, I'm not happy.
Yeah. What's your batting average? So if you were to go into a studio, and
I don't know. So I feel like my batting average is 100. I don't feel like I'm missing anything, but I'm not in there trying to make hits. I'm trying to make great songs.
Yeah.
And not all great songs become hits.
No, that's right.
And not all hits are great songs. That's for damn
That's for
sure.
sure, right.
So I feel like every song I make has a place.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm happy with everything I come out of the studio with. And that's really what matters. Batting average, what's going to end up actually being a hit, could be 1 in 20. 1 in 20 songs.
I asked that mainly because from in experiences of, like, going in the studio, I always find, like, if you're going in there with one idea, you know what I mean? It's like if you've got, like, 6 bouncing all at once, then at some point they're going to find their own lanes and speed through. Sometimes when you're just working on one, there's this massive pressure on the one tune, isn't it? And that can often derail, because we've all got loads of ideas that are happening in one tune, and sometimes it's good to just, like, throw a load of demo ideas together. Does that happen with in
I'm always a proponent of, like, make more songs. Keep making more songs.
That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah.
And you don't need to focus on one, because there's a million ways to produce a song. Like, Wake Me Up came to the world as a dance track, but before Avicii put the dance production on it, it was just vocal and guitar. It was a folk song.
It was a folk
right?
song, wasn't it? You can hear that more and more
in the
like,
studio when we first wrote it. So then you can make a reggae version, you can make a salsa version, you can make a rock version. Like, production is a whole other beast. Just for me as an MC, it's like getting the lyrics right.
Yeah.
As a growing vocalist, it's about getting the melody right, and that should stand on its own. And then what I learned from Avicii was, like, the music has to have its own melody too. So even without my lyrics, there's a melody that everybody knows that Avicii put into the music that they can sing. So it has its own character.
That's so true.
Stands on its own.
Yeah.
And when you have those three elements, lyrics that stand on their own, just on paper, a vocal melody that stands on its own without a lyric, just humming it, and then music, an instrumental foundation that also stands on its own, that has a melody that you can hum, you can't lose. Like, and then you give people some roller coaster moments, you know, in the music, some drops or some
build-ups and
some stops or whatever it is.
It's exciting when you adapt a real contemporary layout of a song, and then it almost gets remixed. Do you know what I mean? And with all the modern day things, it's just like you say, if you really broke it down to the bare bones, it's a folk song, and that I took that away. That it got better with age. The song came out, bang, and then as you grow into it and it grows up itself, you realise that the songwriting is everything, and then you can, like you say, you can adapt it to any genre, can't you?
You can. That's what I love about music, is that songs grow. Once you release them, it's no longer yours. It just belongs to everybody, and people will twist them and bend them in so many different ways. The ones that end up getting twisted and bent the most times are the ones that had all the right parts to begin with.
All the right components, yeah, exactly. Well, on that note, we're going to go to Amoeba Records, and we're going to check out a few gems that inspired you over the course of your musical history.
Right on.
You know what I mean? So should we do this?
Let's do it.
KELA podcast, live in effect, Aloe Blacc, hold tight.